Welcome to the Deconstructing Data podcast. I'm Jessie Lezak, CMO at BDEX, along with co-host David Finkelstein, BDEX's co-founder and CEO. How's it going, David?
Hey, it's going well.
Holiday?
Excited to do our last deconstructing data before the holidays and get a little bit of a break and spend some time with family.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm excited to introduce today's guest, Joe Karasin, Chief Marketing Officer at CircleIt. Let me pull him in here. Welcome, Joe. How's it going?
Hi, Jesse. Hi, David. Doing well. Nice snowy day here in Chicago. So we're battening down the hatches, so to speak.
Definitely. And Joe, you've been a professional marketer since 2011 with proficiencies in a lot of things, but including SEO, paid search and display, paid social, content marketing, and leadership. I also read that you love baseball, films, and your pets. So I don't know if there'll be time to get into any of that, but welcome to the show.
Glad to be here. Been looking forward to it for a while now, so I'm excited.
Nice. Thanks.
Awesome, Joe. Yeah, great to have you here. So let's kick this off with giving you a chance to tell your story. Love to hear a little bit about CircleIt, what problems CircleIt helps to solve, and anything else you want to share.
Sure. Yeah, so CircleIt helps us solve actually one of the biggest problems that we all have, which is being there for our loved ones even after we're gone. And I ended up at CircleIt in kind of a sort of a serendipitous way. So I had been in marketing for a number of years, and I had throughout the pandemic I had just kind of had an offer rescinded from another company, and I was looking for work, and I was basically just freelancing, which is, for any of you who are in marketing and have done that for a long time, it's kind of a grind to do that. So I happened to cross a LinkedIn post, and it was looking for somebody who knew about Google ads. And so I said, well, I do know about that. So I applied and met the founder and CEO of CircleIt, Art Sheikh, who I had never heard of CircleIt. I wasn't aware of it. But within about, I think 5 minutes, maybe 3, he told me what CircleIt was doing and what the application would do, the platform. And I was instantly hooked, because prior to getting into marketing, my mother was ill with cancer, and she passed away in 2009. And about 3 days after she passed away, I found a letter that she had left me. It was one of those kind of things that your mom would say, like, well, I hope you find the right girl someday. And, I want you to remember to stop and smell the roses and don't get too tied up in, big things. It's usual mom stuff, And it's like the most important thing I have is my letter from my mom. I keep it with me all the time, not like in my wallet, but, it goes with me wherever I go. And, so Art told me his story, about how his father had given him this box full of, cards and letters and gifts and instructions for things for him to do in the event that his dad had passed away. And at the time, his dad was still healthy. And then suddenly, about a year later, his dad passed away. And so Art had this box of things, and, he's got to make sure that cards get delivered to his nieces and nephews on like their wedding days and graduations. And his mom gets flowers on Valentine's Day and anniversaries. And, he kind of had this thought like, well, what happens if I'm gone? And what happens, and as he was going through this, more and more people were saying, yeah, that's something that I worry about too. Or those are things that I've tried to do, to leave things for my heirs, and so, what I learned from what my mom did, and then, kind of subsequently my grandfather, and what we've learned over time now with CircleIt, is that, people want to be there for the ones that they love, no matter what. We want to be there for the big events and even, the small ones. And we want to be there, we all worry about what's going to happen when we're gone. And we don't worry about ourselves so much. We worry about our loved ones. And so CircleIt is solving that problem for people, which is a problem that doesn't know nationality or gender or any other thing. Everybody in the world has this problem.
That's very cool. It's a great story, actually, as well. And it seems like it's kind of fate that you landed yourself with this company.
Yeah, I've always felt that like I really should be in marketing, but I've never felt like I should be marketing something more than what I'm doing with CircleIt.
Yeah, there's nothing better than marketing, you know, if you're in marketing, to know that you're marketing something that's meaningful to you. So that's fantastic.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for sharing that. Shall we get into our first topic?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's roll.
All right. Well, thank you for submitting these topics. We deconstruct all types of data. So I think I'm excited about these ones today. And the first one is using data to improve user experience. So could you kick us off with that, Joe, and let us know what you were thinking on that topic?
Yeah. So one of the things that, we've kind of constantly been, almost obsessed with is user experience and making it better for everybody, right? Our anybody who comes into our platform, we want to make sure that that experience for them is seamless. And we want to make sure that it's something that they, because we're dealing with like their very personal things, right? So we want to make sure that they have a very ease of use. We don't want to make it hard for them. And one of the things we learned by analyzing data over time, like on onboarding statistics and journeys and some of that information, is we learned that like we needed to let people experience the technology a little bit before we were getting them to like become members. And so what we did was, based on that information, we kind of restructured the whole onboarding process and instituted a guest mode. And so a guest mode is, the ability for them to send cards to the future, like to any future date or milestone, without, having to become like a member. So you could send, you could come into the technology today, create a card for your child or grandchild or, nephew or whoever, and schedule it to arrive at any future date. And we've always maintained that that will remain a free service through CircleIt. But, we wanted to make sure that we're gaining the trust of our users. And so we wanted them to kind of experience that first. And it led to a huge increase in onboarding and adoption. More people were staying in the app longer, more people were sending more cards, they were chatting more frequently. So we kind of learned from that experience, like, we need to be trustworthy, for our users and members. So that way, they will like trust us with some of these things that are, very important to them. They might not be trusting us with, their most valuable, monetary asset, but they're trusting us with some of their most precious personal assets. And those things, we want to make sure that we are the one trusted place for all of those essential end of life services that we're incorporating into the platform. So that was and increasing the user, and improving the user experience. Other things that we're implementing over time, we utilize data to understand those things. Not only do we want to make sure that like our current process of sending a card, a greeting card to a future date, we also want to make sure that like you can send it if you don't know the date. Many of our users are cancer patients, like my mother was, and my mom probably would have loved to be able to have a card arrive on my wedding day, which was 2 weeks ago. I just got married 2 weeks ago, and the lack of her presence there was obviously felt, especially by me. But it, like, my mom could have, if CircleIt had been around, in 2009, could have actually made sure that a card arrived on that day for me. And that's something that like we're doing with smart card technology. And that's something that data sort of tells us, like, we're going to utilize that to provide that journey, so that way that card does arrive on a day like that. And those are the kinds of things we use when we're trying to enhance our user experience. That's how we utilize data to do that.
Well, first off, congratulations.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm sure my wife probably will be happy that I mentioned that I'm married on the podcast.
Yes, well, definitely congratulations on that. But it's a great point what you say about improving the user experience, and the importance of that. We just did something very similar with our OmniIQ platform, where we enable our customers to go in and upload some data. For example, it could be some data from their CRM or whatever into a data clean room, and then enhance that data with some analytics and basically learn something about their existing customers. And we do that, just like you said, free of charge. And I think that's really important, what you said about sort of gaining the user's trust through that experience and giving them sort of a picture of what that experience will look like with your product, so that you can get them to start using it, feel comfortable with it, know what they're getting themselves into, know what the value that they're getting out of it, and then once they realize the value that they're getting out of it, they can obviously choose to go above and beyond the free experience and purchase something further from you. But I think that initial user experience is super important, and it's great that you guys are recognizing that as well, and it sounds like it's working really well for you.
Yeah, definitely. I agree 100% with that.
Absolutely. So I would have to ask, what do you guys use to measure your data, your product user data?
So we're really we utilize Firebase more than anything. We're a mobile first platform, so we utilize Firebase to analyze like different journeys and behaviors within the app that we can then kind of figure out. Okay, with our there we go. Our CEO actually said we have to live our promise daily. That's how you earn trust. That's exactly what we have to do. We've promised to people that we're always going to be private, free, and secure. So we'll get into privacy a little later. But free, we don't ever charge people to send these cards or anything like that. And we protect their data. We're very security oriented. But getting back to your question, we analyze that behavior through Firebase and then kind of make those decisions from there. So we'll A/B test in-app messaging and A/B test different types of email, and how emails pull people into the app and then get them to take the actions that we think that might help them. One of the things that we've been doing more of lately has been just kind of letting people know, like, hey, your other friends are on CircleIt, so that way they can add their friends and family, because it's not like Facebook where they're going to, just add people from all over. This is like a closed network platform where you're not going to, like I'll add my sister and my dad and my wife, and then in-laws, but like, I'm not going to add, no offense, like you guys. I mean, I might, but, but before this, no, I didn't know you. So I wouldn't have phone numbers or things like that, like you have to have like that, primary contact information to even add people. So it's much more closed in that sense. So we can say like, hey, by the way, your nephew's on CircleIt, like, oh, I should connect with him, that kind of thing. And then you can define those relationships, and we utilize those data points then to kind of filter in the communication to the user.
Very interesting.
Yeah,
well,
that's awesome.
Shall we move into the next topic?
Yeah.
Privacy and data in marketing. Joe, do you want to kick us off again?
Sure. Yeah. So privacy was one of the promises we've always maintained. It's what we guarantee. And when we talk about privacy, what we talk about is you will never see ads in the CircleIt platform. We will never display ads. We don't sell your data to brokers. Our CEO actually has posted literally emails from data brokers asking for like, oh, we'll give you this much money for all your user data, and him, saying no in big letters, in caps. And that goes to that. And so when we use data, we're very conscious of what we're doing. Our data is primarily used in the service of enhancing the user experience within the app, not necessarily to show you more meaningful ads, because that's kind of what most platforms are doing these days. They're saying, oh, well, we're going to use your data to show you more meaningful advertisements. That's not what we got into this for. We only want to use data for that. So we're not going to have like these data repositories where people can come in and say, oh, we want to target, your users that are, between the ages of, 29 and 36 who own 2 cars and have, 4 kids and all that kind of stuff. We have always maintained that privacy is going to be something that we respect. And in marketing in general, the general pull now is actually going towards more privacy. More private platforms are being utilized. More companies that are actually protecting privacy are gaining traction. One of the big companies that is doing really well right now is Neeva, for example, and they're a alternative search engine, to Google, started by, I think, some ex-Google people. And one of their main tenet is privacy. They're not going to be selling data and selling ads through their platform. And that I think is, we and companies like Neeva and some others are really on like the forefront of this privacy revolution that, you know, is now starting to even get encapsulated in law, like in the GDPR and things like that, which I'm sure we'll talk about a little bit later. But you know, and so when I came here, you know, when I came into CircleIt, you know, my mindset was always kind of wrapped around, you know, we're going to, you know, I've always kind of been uncomfortable with the way that a lot of digital marketing had been done in the past. You know, as much as I love what I do, I also don't like the idea that like there's so much that I'm like that I would be using to target people, you know, and to be, oh, you know, to be like really kind of like in their head, so to speak, about marketing and advertising. So I'm you know, to me, it's a nice part of our guarantee that, you know, we're going to stay private. We're not going to sell your information, and we're not going to utilize your information to show you better ads. You know, we're really only trying to enhance your experience with CircleIt, and that's really all the data is used for. And as somebody in marketing, doing this for a long time, that's pretty unique. There aren't a lot of companies that are making that promise, and the ones that are telling you that they're not doing certain things with your data are doing other things with your data. And, you know, they're selling it in anonymized packages, which aren't so anonymous. And that's, you know, to me, that's dangerous and deceptive. And I don't like that. And, you know, I'm fairly certain that everybody at our company pretty much believes the same.
Yeah, and you're also dealing with, you know, what I would call in some ways sensitive information, right? I mean, you're talking about people that are, you know, looking to, you know, send information to loved ones and things like that. And I think that, you know, you want to be cognizant of people's, you know, feelings around that, have the use of their data in that situation, without a doubt. So I think that's really great. And, you know, like you said, with all the regulations going on between GDPR and CCPA, CPRA, whatever, there's so many limitations now to what you can and can't do with this data anyway. And so, you know, it's good to just, especially in your case, to, you know, make people feel really comfortable that the data they're providing to you is going to be secure. You know, we do some very similar things on our end, where we manage a data clean room, and we have people that are giving us their sensitive information, right? They're giving us their customer information, you know, and everyone should, you know, that's the one thing that everyone wants to hold closest, right? You sure as heck don't want your customer information going out to anyone else. And so, you know, we take that to heart when we work with, you know, the security level of privacy on our platform as well.
Sure, absolutely. You know, I think that that's something that, you know, we always talk about, you know, personally identifying information, you know, but I think back, you know, if I go back a couple minutes in this conversation to like my mom's letter, for example, like I don't need people reading that. You know, that's not something for everybody to see. And, you know, in CircleIt, if somebody were to leave a letter like that for one of their loved ones, you know, we wouldn't want prying eyes seeing that. That's private between other people. And so that's another reason why, you know, the security and privacy aspect of the platform is so important to us.
Absolutely. That's great.
Definitely. Well, let's dive into our third topic. What were you thinking in terms of data bias in advertising, Joe?
Oh boy, this is the big one, right? You know, so to me, it's, you know, one of the things that I think, you know, we've learned, you know, and one of the things we always take into consideration are the different types of biases that can misinform your use of data. You know, like platform bias, for example. I think that's an interesting one because while CircleIt definitely is something that anybody can use, you know, our general appeal is going to be to, you know, a slightly older demographic or a demographic that has a more kind of mature lifestyle, parents, you know, moms, you know, those that are maybe dealing with, you know, terminal illnesses or serious illnesses at the very least, police, firefighters, military, anybody with a risky job, people that, you know, have been, you know, kind of live some life, so to speak. You know, the 18-year-old isn't going to be, you know, the biggest, you know, CircleIt person, although not to say that they wouldn't be, because a lot of them want to connect with their relatives and, you know, their older relatives. But, you know, so understanding like where to advertise, you know, where to do that, you know, do we want to be, you know, on TikTok, which is, you know, a younger platform, maybe not, you know, do we have a presence? Sure. Because I'm a big believer in omni-channel marketing. Like I want to make sure that we're everywhere and we're keeping the customer the central focus of what we're doing. But, I think that that's something to take into consideration for any business, to know your customer and knowing your customer ahead of time, right? So like when you go, like if you look at like the data that you're seeing in your ads reports, and you're seeing like, the demographics, like, well, we thought our product was going to be good for people between the ages of 25 and 34, and we're really seeing people between like 36 and 55, and it's like, well, are you advertising in the right places? Or, that's sort of something you have to take into consideration.
Mm-hmm.
Facebook users are going to be older for the most part. Younger people are abandoning that platform, like a sinking ship, and
Mm-hmm.
and even some older people are too. But the majority of people that are still using Facebook are older. The other thing too, when you're talking about your data and on these advertising platforms, is customer lists. They'll be doing away with your lookalike audiences, and that's a tool that I know a lot of marketers have or advertisers have built their whole careers on using. And so, it's taking, now you'll have this first party data that you receive, and you can upload those customer lists, but are they scrubbed? Are they clean? You got to make sure that your data is, I wouldn't put just a whole spreadsheet of every single CircleIt customer into one advertising bucket. Those people, depending on where they're at within, because some people may be brand new and don't have 50 family members connected to them. They might have 2, so they may want to get more information about like why to connect with their friends and family, how to make that kind of stuff, versus people that have like a more advanced CircleIt experience would want to know more about the types of cards we offer, and how to send gifts, and how to make sure your date scheduler is working, and how to send smart cards, and those types of things, and new product releases. And so you want to segment those things. And if you're in like an e-commerce thing, and you've got like people that have continuously bought from you and have a larger LTV, you want to put those people in a separate audience from those that are newer or haven't spent as much with you, because obviously the value there is going to be different, and you want to be able to find customers that are going to work with you on a longer term basis. So those kinds of biases are I think important to recognize in your data, and understanding what your data is telling you, in terms of we want to learn about our customers. We don't necessarily want to just confirm our notions. It's more like the scientific method. Let's disprove what's going on, as opposed to just proving it. Because if all we're doing is just kind of confirming our own kind of internal biases about certain things, we're never really going to improve our advertising and marketing in that sense. And so those kinds of biases are really strong, and that's something that in my career I've really worked hard to not succumb to as much as possible, and understanding like the different types of like the story the data is telling me, but also why is it telling me that story, and am I looking in the right places to get the information I need. So those are some things that I think are super important. And for those that are that are watching this, and I don't know if they're new to marketing, or they've probably been doing this for a long time, those are some things that are becoming more and more more and more making a stronger argument for the use of first party data as opposed to third party data.
Yeah. You make a really good point, especially when you mention the segmentation, the importance of it. And so that's something we always talk about with our customers. We talk a lot on this podcast about the importance of segmentation, segmenting your existing customer database, doing that analysis to understand your existing customers and segmenting them so that you're, not advertising the same thing to everybody. Whether it be promoting, to your existing customers, different product features. As you described, there's going to be some features that are going to be relevant to, a certain audience of your customers, and other features which will be relevant to a different set of customers. And so that applies both to your existing customers, or segmenting when you're talking about, advertising to new customers as well. It's super important. And again, it goes back to that user experience, right? I mean, you want to improve the user experience. You also want to improve the, within the product, but you also want to improve the user experience when you're communicating with your customers, whether it be existing customers or new customers, so that they, you're addressing the right product features to the right set of people.
Absolutely.
Good stuff. Anything else on data bias and advertising?
Nothing, actually. I think I've probably bored your audience enough.
No.
My rambling.
I mean, it is very relevant. I've definitely felt it, but also like that's what keeps us all honest, right? Is data, but garbage in, garbage out. We've got to make sure that whatever
Exactly.
we're interpreting is worthwhile.
Exactly.
Definitely. So I'm excited to hear about what your favorite tools are in your tech stack, Joe. They can be anything, what your team uses, top 5 or, however many you want to list.
Sure. Yeah. So we, as I mentioned before, we use Firebase and some others, but one of the marketing tools that I use that I think is, a great product for everybody is SEMrush. As somebody who utilizes paid search ads a lot and in SEO and that sort of stuff, SEMrush is really, I think, like the best product I've used in that sense. And I've used it for a long time, and it's always just been a really good tool to create like SEO campaigns, to monitor your backlinks, check your backlink audits, and do keyword research. And their keyword research data I've found is probably the best out there in terms of most accurate in terms of volumes and intent and things like that. So that's my favorite tool that I use.
So that's the top 2. All right, I got them. I'm going to plug them into the comments on LinkedIn here.
Sure.
But I guess we have time to get into some of those other questions toward the bottom of the script. So if you don't mind, I'm going to dive right in.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So Joe and David, I think you've had this question, so maybe, I don't know if your opinion has changed, but the third-party cookieless world gets a lot of buzz these days, of course. And when the topic of Google's cookie deprecation comes up, what do you advise teams to do and focus on? Who wants to take that one? David, you're nodding. You want to take it?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, it goes without saying, because I've said it so many times, but it's something that we just talked about, which is first-party data, the importance of it, and knowing your existing customers. And so I think that's the biggest takeaway going forward into 2023 that's going to be really, really important for companies to take note of. It means understanding your customers. It means, maybe polling them every once in a while with one question just to, get that biggest question you want to know about your customers answered. Don't give them a big, survey to complete. They won't complete it, but just get that one question, figure out what that one question is that you want to know about your existing customers, use that to help understand them better. That's a really, really good start, I think, to building a database of first-party data, which you'll then eventually be able to use to segment and promote products and services and features directly to the right people within your audience. And then from that, you can take it a step further, apply some machine learning with some unique tools like BDEX's OmniIQ, and to find more people that look just like your best customers. And I think that that's really going to be more and more important with the deprecation of cookies going forward.
Absolutely.
I think that, piggybacking off that, I think that the first party data thing is so important, and trust building with your customers is really kind of like where you're going to get that first party data. That I think, the old, oh, you want to read this article? Well, you better give us, your name, phone number, address, date of birth, social security number, credit card, and, all that stuff. That's gone by the wayside. You really need to build trust and provide value to people before you even start having those conversations with them. And I think that is, in order to get that first party data in your database built, to me, it's really about how you've handled what you've given them so far. How, are your products performing the way that you are saying they will? Are people, in our case, are these cards being delivered, on the date and time that you scheduled them, that sort of thing. Are you not scraping the chat to, show us ads 5 minutes later that are going to be about what we talked about, and that sort of thing. And so when we're able to provide that level of trust with our customers, it makes it that much easier for them to say, yeah, you know what, I trust CircleIt to handle some of these longer term things that I want to protect in my legacy preservation and other things that I'm going to be doing. So
that's a great point, Joe. Trust is so important. And I mean, look what's happened to Facebook in the past. Look what's happening to Twitter right now. I mean, the consumer needs to feel comfortable with the, the company and the product that they're using, or, you just, you're not going to be able to gain their trust. And that trust is so important in order to keep a customer and learn from that experience as well.
It's one of the reasons why we call ourselves the healthy alternative to social media. You're connected to the people that actually love you and care about you. You provide real and meaningful conversations, and you don't have to worry about, just an influx of ads influencing your decisions or an algorithm telling you that, grandma's post is more important than your dad's.
Right.
So another question, I'm going to sort of switch gears here on both of you. Joe and David, if you could go back to when you first came into the industry, what is the number one piece of advice you would give yourself?
Ooh. I think that the biggest piece of advice I would have given myself first coming in, like if it were me now talking, I would say, focus more, like try to find something that you really, really believe in to apply your skills to. I spent a number of years, just being a marketer. I think that that's one of the things that I think about a lot is I was just a marketer, and now I think more about like what I'm doing, and I feel like I'm actually delivering like a message that matters to people, and I'm helping them find a service that will really help them. And it's a hard thing. I know we were talking a little bit about, finding something that you truly, truly believe in to market. And a lot of people never find that, I think that that's unfortunate. But I got lucky, and I think that, I probably would have enjoyed certain facets of my career more if I would have found things, if I would have taken the time to find some things, some products and services that I really, really believed in, as opposed to just marketing things to market them. And I think that that's probably the best advice I could give my younger self.
That's good stuff. How about you, David?
I've answered this question so many times, and each time I'm thinking about what answers I've given in the past to try to give myself, new advice. And so I think this one, I think today, the one that I'm thinking about is when I think back to my first business that I started in 1994, which, is a long time ago. I realized that when I did that and went into that business afraid to make mistakes, and I think that held me back. I was a successful business, but I think that it could have been even more successful because I've learned over the years, and I think I've learned a lot in my next business, and then up till now, and I made pretty much every mistake in the book, in the next business after that, and the one, and even in this one, early on. But it's those mistakes you learn everything from. And so, I've become really good at allowing myself to make mistakes. Something that I didn't allow early on in my career. And so that, I think that if I was talking to my younger self going into my first business, I would say, go for it, make all the mistakes, learn from them as you go. And, that's the sort of path to success.
Good advice as well. It makes me feel better because I know I'm full of mistakes. We're all human.
And, I never fault anybody for making mistakes, and as long as everyone looks at it as a learning experience, and that's what I've come to learn over the years, is that everything is a learning experience, and And I try to instill that when I talk to my daughter, who's in college right now. And it's like, you have to be willing to make mistakes. I think, she grew up trying to be such a perfectionist and trying not to make mistakes. And I always tell her, don't be afraid to make mistakes. You have to take those chances, and you have to see what happens, and then learn from it. And next time you do it, it's going to be better and better and better. So
definitely.
Yep.
It's how we grow and improve.
Absolutely.
Our CEO always says, fail is first attempt in learning. He always says that.
Yeah.
And that's
fail first.
I always like that one. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Fail first, fail fast. So going off that, are there any lessons you've learned along the way from, this job or past jobs or businesses that you think everyone should know? David, I guess you sort of gave that one from the other business, but anything that you've learned, since the last time we've asked you this that you might share?
Since the last time.
Yeah, we're getting ready to start 2023. So what's both of your advice to everybody based on what you've learned?
Look, the one thing I would say is, to 2023, everyone's talking, going into 2023, everyone's talking recession. And so, the thing that people think of when they think about recession is they think about cutting costs, and they think about where they can save money. And this just came up, actually, Jesse, in this conversation with respect to, I think it was a Forbes article that we were looking to add a comment to. And the thought process there is that, yes, maybe you need to make some cuts or reduce some expenses going forward, but you also need to make some investments. And so I think that's what, going into 2023, I think that's a lesson that we can all look at and say, okay, well, maybe we need to make cuts, but maybe we also need to make some investments. And those investments might be, in technology to help improve, productivity within the company. That's a great investment going into a recession. Investing in technology that will help improve performance, whether it's performance of your advertising, whether it's productivity of your team. And so think of not just ways to save money, but think of where you can invest money that will make for a more effective future.
Great point. Invest where everybody else is cutting, just to get that special edge ahead. How about you, Joe?
Yeah, something similar. I think that, instead of focusing on, cuts, it's like, where can you optimize? That's sort of always been my thought is, I've had like in my career, I've had times where I've had, next to nothing in terms of marketing budgets. And it's more about how do you optimize what you have rather than worry about what you don't have. And that, I think, is something over the years that I've actually gotten really good at, is learning about, taking, maybe limited resources and making sure that what I do have is always working at its best level for me. And that, I think, is something that, as 2023 looms, I guess, it's something to be considerate of is, look at what you do have and find ways to maximize the output of it.
Good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Great point.
Definitely. Well, in closing, Joe, would you like to tell listeners how they can find you?
Yeah. So you can always go to CircleIt.com. But the best way to experience CircleIt is by downloading our app. So either go to the Play Store or the App Store and download CircleIt. And the one thing that CircleIt always has kept in mind, and one of our missions is to always do the most good we can for the most number of people. And most people don't have the opportunity to jump into an Uber or a Facebook when they're still in the early stages. Maybe you were one of the first people to buy their IPO, but so we actually have a WeFunder campaign going on right now. And if you go to wefunder.com/CircleIt, you can become part of our inner circle and kind of join in our success as we grow. And it gives people a wonderful opportunity to invest in a tech startup before, the IPO prices and those type of things really increase. So wefunder.com/CircleIt, check it out. And you can learn a bunch about the platform on there as well. So
very cool. Definitely. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Joe. It was really great meeting you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I've been looking forward to it. So, and you guys didn't disappoint. So
Glad to hear it.
hopefully I didn't.
No, not at all. Not
Nope,
at all.
this was great. Thank you so much, Joe.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
Nice meeting you guys.
feel free to hold tight and we can, wrap up post show. But in closing, for anyone in the audience who might prefer an audio format, you can find the Deconstructing Data podcast on all podcast apps. Also, we hope we've inspired you to ask more questions about your first party customer data, enough to want to go get complimentary analytics in OmniIQ, as David was talking about. I am going to drop the QR code here, but you can also go to BDEX.com. And just click on try it for free. You don't have to have a credit card. You create an account and you can upload your CSV file and get complimentary gender analytics, household income, and birth year. So we would love to hear your feedback on what you think about that. And also, if you have feedback on the show, please share it with us. You can reach us at info@bdex.com. Share your qualitative data with us, and we will make it better for you. Thank you all for being here, and we'll catch you in 2023. Thanks a lot.